What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with our 2024 college football schedule preview and projected record series. The Vanderbilt Commodores are up next, and before I preview their schedule for 2024 and give them an early projected record based on how tough their schedule is, let's take a look back at what Vanderbilt did in 2023. Here are my projections and predictions last year for Vanderbilt. My projection had them at 4-8, and then my prediction for them was 5-7. So I was a little bit high on Vanderbilt last year, to win a couple games in the SEC, but not really high on them to go to a bowl game, obviously. But Vanderbilt, of course, coming off a tough season, just going 2-10 last year in 2023, and then obviously winless in the SEC, so another rough season for Vanderbilt. This was a schedule from last year for the Commodores. They played against Hawaii, Alabama A&M, Wake Forest, and UNLV in the non-conference. They ended up losing to Wake Forest and UNLV both in the non-conference on the road, and then obviously going winless in the SEC. No surprise there. It didn't really shock me that this team did go winless. I mean, I did kind of, have them predicting to, lose, or actually not win any games in the SEC, and then, of course, maybe like a couple games. But obviously it was another rough season for Vanderbilt. We'll see if they can turn things around in 2024. Here is the schedule for Vanderbilt for the upcoming season. And before we go game by game, let's take a look at who they will play in their non-conference schedule for this upcoming season. So you look at their non-conference schedule. They will play Virginia Tech, Alcorn State, and Georgia State on the road, and then, of course, Ball State here in the non-conference. So it seems like every year that Vanderbilt's non-conference schedule is not too bad, but we've seen them struggle against like non-conference teams out of the group of five, and then, of course, out of the FCS level. So these won't be easy games for Vanderbilt. And then you obviously got Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, of course, that'll be a very interesting matchup there in week number 1. So that's your non-conference schedule for Vanderbilt. Let's go back to the schedule now here for 2024. They will, of course, start things off with Virginia Tech here on August 31st, and then after that it's Alcorn State here on September the 7th, and then on the road at Georgia State here on September the 14th. So they play 3 out of their 4 non-conference games in the first 3 weeks of the season, and then they go on the road to play Missouri here to open up conference play on September the 21st, and then they get a bye week here in the last weekend of the month of September, and then going into the month of October, they come out of the bye week to play Alabama at home on October the 5th. Then they'll go on the road to play Kentucky here on October the 12th, and then it's back at home for Ball State here on October the 19th. And then they'll play Texas here at home on October the 26th. And then in the month of November, they go on the road to play Auburn on November 2nd. And then back at home for South Carolina here on November 9th. And then they get another bye week here in the month of November before playing LSU here on the road on November 23rd. And then they obviously close things out with Tennessee here at home on November 30th. So that is the schedule for Vanderbilt heading into 2024. So this is another tough schedule for Vanderbilt, obviously. Playing in the SEC, of course, they're going to have a tough schedule every year. But again, their non-conference schedule is not so tough. They do play Virginia Tech. Yes, they do that. But, they are definitely going to have to win those non-conference games in order to have like a really successful start to the season. But again, Georgia State, Ball State, those are not going to be easy games for Vanderbilt. We've seen Vanderbilt, like I said, struggle against group of 5 teams in the non-conference, and then, of course, FCS teams as well. So let's get to the projection here for Vanderbilt for 2024. This is the scale, once again, that I use here for my projections. If it's a 1% game in the red, that percentage, of course, is going to count as an automatic loss, and then 20% games here in the orange will be games where Vanderbilt will be about a couple touchdowns of underdogs, and then your 40% games here in the yellow are going to be games where Vanderbilt will be a clear underdog in by about a touchdown. And then your 50-50 games will, of course, stay in the white. Games I think can go either way. Then your 60% games here in the purple will be games where Vanderbilt will be a favorite by about a touchdown. And then your 80% games here in the blue are going to be games where Vanderbilt will be favored by double digits and also by about a couple touchdowns in that percentage. And then, of course, your 99% games here in the green are pretty much your automatic wins and also your easy wins in that percentage. So we'll start with the easy easy wins here for Vanderbilt on this schedule. I think you got a couple of easy wins here for Vanderbilt. Those two games are Alcorn State and Ball State here in the non-conference. Alcorn State, like I mentioned, this is probably the easiest non-conference game on the schedule for Vanderbilt. Probably a game that they should be favored by more than 3 touchdowns. And also they should probably win by 30-plus points in that game. So I think Vanderbilt will be a big favorite in that game, over 95%. And then Ball State, I know this is a game that's in the green, but it won't be an easy game here for Vanderbilt. Ball State's a pretty good, sneaky good team out of the MAC conference. That'll be a very tough game there for Vanderbilt. We've seen, like I said, Vanderbilt struggle against these non-conference teams over the years, so that will be a tough game there against Ball State, but that's a game probably could be at least at 90%. However, it's a home game for Vanderbilt, so that's the reason why I'm putting this one here in the green for right now. These are not guaranteed wins, but they're counted as automatic wins here in this projection for this year. And then we go to the games where I think Vanderbilt will be favored by double digits here, 10 to 14 points, somewhere in that range. I do have one game on here, and that's Georgia State here on the road. Playing on the road, that obviously does make it a very tough game here for Vanderbilt to be in the green. I think it's a blue game, though. I think Vanderbilt, though, even though they're playing on the road in this game, I think they'll be double-digit favorites here against Georgia State, and they probably will be favorites by 10 to 14 points, somewhere in that range. But Georgia State, again, it's a sneaky good team out of the Sun Belt, so watch out for that one if you're a Vanderbilt fan. That definitely could be a game that Vanderbilt could likely lose in, and I was very close to putting that game in the purple, to be honest, but I'm going to stick with it here and put it in the blue for right now. And then obviously the rest of the games, you cannot favor Vanderbilt in the SEC, of course, because they're obviously one of the worst teams in the SEC. So let's skip over to the games where I think Vanderbilt will be underdogs in. We'll start with the red games here at 1%, which are counted as automatic losses. That's almost the majority of their schedule, but I got 5 games on here in the red: Missouri, Alabama, Texas, LSU, and Tennessee. So I got 5 games on here that I think Vanderbilt will automatically lose in. I just don't think Vanderbilt is quite on the level of all 5 of these teams yet here in the SEC. You look at Missouri, I mean, obviously Vanderbilt used to be quite on the level with the Tigers, but Missouri is, a program that seems like it's heading in the right direction. They're obviously coming off a very big surprising season last year as well. So that'll be a tough one there on the road. And then Alabama, Texas, those are 2 home games, but obviously I don't really see Vanderbilt having a chance in either of those games. And then, of course, LSU. Playing on the road in Death Valley will be especially a tough one there, so I don't really expect Vanderbilt to win that one. And then Tennessee, I know that's a rivalry game. You never know what can happen, but Vanderbilt obviously will have no chance in that game either. So those are all the games where you can pretty much count them as automatic losses, but they're not guaranteed losses like we mentioned with the green games. You never know what can happen. Maybe they can pull off a win somehow. But those are pretty much, automatic losses there for Vanderbilt. Then we go to the games where I think Vanderbilt will be double-digit underdogs. I got 2 games on here in the orange: Kentucky and Auburn, both 2 road games here in the orange. I think Vanderbilt will be a double-digit underdog here in both of these games on the road. Both of these teams, Kentucky and Auburn, were pretty average teams last year. You look at Kentucky, I think they're definitely the more talented team and the more talented roster here. Plus, they're playing at home in this game, and that's the reason why, that game ended up being a double-digit underdog there for Vanderbilt. Same thing with Auburn. Playing on the road at Jordan-Hare is going to be tough, but that's an Auburn team that's still trying to figure things out with their program. Auburn obviously heading into their second year under Hugh Freeze. We kind of expect some improvement there for Auburn, but we'll see what happens there. And then, of course, like I said, the reason why both of these games are in the orange is because they're both on the road. So that's the reason why both of these games ended up being in the orange. So I think Vanderbilt will be double-digit underdogs in both of those games. And then that leaves South Carolina here. I think Vanderbilt will be a clear underdog in this game against the Gamecocks. I know South Carolina was not great last year, but that's a game that Vanderbilt can win. It's a game that, Vanderbilt's going to be a clear underdog in by about a touchdown. And I think I could see it being a 50-50 game once we get into the month of May. But as of right now, South Carolina definitely has the more talented roster and definitely the more better team here. So that's the reason why I am favoring South Carolina here by, about a touchdown, and then also making Vanderbilt here a clear underdog in this one. So I think Vanderbilt, playing in their SEC schedule, they will be underdogs in all their games here, from the red to the yellow here with South Carolina. And then that leaves Virginia Tech here as the only 50-50 game on here for Vanderbilt in the non-conference. I think this is a pretty even matchup, but The reason why this turned out to be a 50-50 game is just because Vanderbilt's playing here at home. Virginia Tech is a team that, everybody's pretty hyped up about this year. They could be a very dangerous team coming up in the ACC. So Virginia Tech, the reason why that game ended up being a 50-50 game is because they're playing here at home. So that's the only 50-50 game here for Vanderbilt on this schedule. So let's now get a projected record here for Vanderbilt for this 2024 season. This is not going to be an official prediction. This is simply going to be a projection based on how tough the schedule is. So we count a couple of those green games as automatic wins, and then you count that one blue game as a slight win. Then you count those 5 red games as losses, and then you average out those 2 games in the orange at 20%. Then you average out that 1 game in the yellow at 40%, and then you average out that 1 50-50 game here at 50%. And the overall projected record for Vanderbilt comes out to be 4-8 here for 2024. So same projection for me as last year for Vanderbilt at 4-8. That's really the best that I can see Vanderbilt doing. I think best case would be 5-7. It would definitely really shock me if this team did go 5-7, to be honest, and then probably like 3-9 or 2-10 again, maybe as worst case scenario. But again, it's kind of hard to tell every single year how good this Vanderbilt team is going to be, and I just don't really expect them to be really good this season as of right now, and probably predicting to be the worst SEC team, of course, in the country, or maybe not in the country, but just in that conference. So 4-8 is my projection here for Vanderbilt for 2024. Give me your thoughts on this Vanderbilt team down in the comments below, and what do you think their projected record is for 2024. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.